Hello everyone, and welcome to the showdown between the Warriors of Chaos, who are going to be helmed by Kolek Suneater, the Bretonnians, who are going to be led by King Lewin. So historically, I think this is a pretty tough matchup for Bretonnia. I mean, in general, they really do have a hard time against heavy armor. There's something about Riotous build that is definitely pretty cool. So instead of going with Lore of Life, which is typically kind of the intuitive pick, right? Because you have all of these expensive knights. You have Questing Knights, you have Knights of the Realm, Grail Knights, you name it. These units that, if they take a lot of damage, I mean, you're losing a ton of value. So you're going to think Lore of Life is going to be the best. But in this matchup, he actually did bring Lore of Heavens, or a Damsel. So he has Curse of the Midnight Wind. So there's a pretty cool little synergy here. Let me go ahead and show you guys. So Curse of the Midnight Wind in the Chaos matchup does lower armor by 30. And when you stack that with King Lewin, his Sword of Corone, I believe also lowers armor by 30. Let's go ahead and double check here. Look at Lewin all glorious up there. So yeah, it's going to be lowering armor by 60 in total, which then makes it so Knights of the Realm, which are a unit that typically is not good in this matchup, right? Because they don't have the best armor piercing. They're really going to struggle to bring down a Shaggoth, especially Kolek, who has like close to 100 armor, yeah, like 95 armor. So I really like that synergy. If he plans his Alpha Strikes very efficiently, he charges in, he Curses the Midnight Winds on top of Sword of Corone, those Knights of the Realm are going to melt some of these big Shaggoths. So I really like that quite a bit. I think it's very cool that to see something other than Lore of Life, right? But as far as my build goes, it's pretty traditional, I would say. It has a couple groups of Chaos Warriors with great weapons, and that's just a counter Foot Squire play. There's a couple ways that I think Bretonnia can do pretty good against Chaos. One of them, I think, I really like the way, he's kind of planning it, right? Knights of the Realm, Questing Knights, armor debuffs, things like that. But the peasants can also just go super wide with Foot Squires, Men-at-Arms with Polearms, Fey Enchantress, and they can just grind you out. And honestly, that works a lot of the time against Chaos. Even if they have like Chosen or Heavy Infantry, like Fey Enchantress debuffing them, Chalice of Potions, just like layers and layers of Foot Squires can actually wear down Chosen pretty well. But, one of the schools of thought, of course, is the peasants. The other one is this. I mean, there's a bunch of different things that could work. Even Royal Hippogriff Knights aren't bad here. Anyways, so I have the great weapons in the front line to really deal with those Foot Squires. Just grind them out, beat them down. In the center, I have a couple Marauders. Marauders can beat most Bretonnian infantry. They can beat Men-at-Arms. So honestly, not a decent choice for a filler unit. And now this is going to be the real bread and butter of the build. I have two groups of the Chosen with great weapons, which oftentimes they're going to be the last thing standing. These guys are so good against Bretonnian Knights, and if you can keep the battle centralized and not get pulled apart too badly, they can just do a ton of work. We have a Deathcaster here with the standard kit, with the Spirit Leech and all that good stuff, and we got some Poison Hounds on the flank. Top of that, we have two groups of Marauder Horsemen and Throwing Axes. These guys are great against heavy cav. I mean, they can kite backwards, they can harass peasant archers. They have really good armor piercing values, and I think are a solid pick. That's pretty much it for my force. We got the double Shaggoth, we got Kolek, as well as the Dragon Ogre. Both are very, very solid here. But again, I really am looking forward to seeing how this armor debuff does here. So we got peasant mobs in the front line. We do have the Beastslayers of Bastion, a very solid anti-large pick, and Foot Squire. So I'm really glad I brought those Chaos Warriors with great weapons, because these guys will be able to spank the Marauders pretty efficiently. On top of that, he's got some Questing Knights. I think he has 2 and 2. So 2 Questing Knights, 2 Knights of the Realm. He's got the Heaven's Caster and Big Daddy Lewin up in the skies, which is always a good pick. Great armor piercing. He's mobile. He heals. He has good debuffs, good AoE buffs for his allies. Lewin is a very, very solid pick here. So guys, let's get the show on the road. So right now I'm going to be poking in here, getting a little bit of axe fire, but Lewin's got the moves like Jagger, so he is able to dodge me there. And as such, I'm going to be switching some fire into these Foot Squires here, trying to get a little bit of chipping damage on their unshielded forms. Kolek and company is going to be running forward. Of course, my opponent here is going to actually see this coming. So the Beastslayers of Bastion narrowly avoid being zapped by the Ancient Dragon Ogre Shaggoth, although it looks like I do take out 3 models, which is okay. I mean, hey, I'll take it. Can't win them all. So we're going to be flying in here with these Marauder Horsemen, trying to get some Throwing Axes in on the Questing Knights, and we're getting a little bit of damage, kind of chipping at these guys. Lewin's going to follow in as well, which is pretty much to be expected, so I'm just going to kind of fan out and run and keep getting that chipping fire here on the Questing Knights as they chase me. The main force is going to be scooting up. Marauders will be engaging the peasants in the front line. With the great weapons, I'll try and get them on the Foot Squires. Chosen, I will be keeping in reserves. So typically what you do is you form a bit of a flank denial, right? You engage with the front line, then the Chosen, you kind of deny the flanks and just kind of hold from there. So since there was nothing really contesting me in the front line, I ran in, smashed a few peasants, and what a way to go. I mean, if you're a Bretonnian peasant, a heroic fight against this Ancient Dragon Ogre Shaggoth, I can think of a few better ways to go, right? So Kolek's going to be running back right here. The Peasant Bowman Fire. It's really good that Riotous actually brought one of these just to kind of poke my horsemen. It kind of keeps me honest a little bit. So in the front line, Marauders are going to be beating down some peasants. Chaos Warriors are going to be engaging against Men-at-Arms, and the Questing Knights are going to be charging in. So I intercept them with halberds. I'm also going to be getting a Faded Bune off of those Questing Knights, if I'm not mistaken. And the peasants do get shattered there pretty badly. In the back, I'm just keeping my peasant warhounds. Imagine like peasants running on all fours like hounds. It'd be kind of scary. But I'm going to keep them in the back, and whenever anything like starts to run, like a Foot Squire or something like that, I'm going to try and chew them up and get some value. So Kolek and company doing pretty good in the front line, taking a little bit of arrow fire. We've effectively screened out a lot of the cab. The Questing Knights are being hit with the Faded Bune and also taking great weapon damage here, so that's going pretty well. Halberds are also piling in, but a little bit kind of a light here in the middle. The Foot Squires have now engaged on the Marauders after the peasant chaff was worn out. Here the Marauders actually, they're holding really well, beating down those peasants, doing okay against the Beastslayers. So just trying to get freebies wherever I can. But I can tell he's kind of waiting for an alpha strike, waiting for me to fall out of position for 1 second, so these Knights of the Realm and these other elite troops can get in there and quote-unquote elite, I guess, with the armor debuff. But anyways, I break the front line. Now the Chaos Marauders are going to be pushing forward to attack those guys. Big Daddy Kolek is going to be going after here and trying to get King Lewin, but he's able to kind of slip away from my grasp, so he gets a really nice charge, does some good armor piercing damage to my Chaos Warriors, and he's in pretty good shape. The lightning coming down from Kolek, the Lord of the Storm, is going to be getting dropped on the Beast Slayers of Bastion right here, doing some pretty juicy damage for sure. But look at this. I sent up the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth with some Marauders. I was like, oh, there's some chaff to help. But then a massive Bretonnian charge comes in. He's poisoned. Lewin's coming in. And I was like, oh, God, this is not going to be good. Because the bounce power was, actually in my favor a little bit here with that Buna and some of the other damage we've done so far against the infantry. This is where things can turn around for Bretonnia. So he comes in with a really nice charge, Curse of the Midnight Wind. Lewin's also going to be charging in Sword of Corone. So this guy now has 10 armor. So pretty much everything here, these Knights of the Realm are going to be melting him. Look at the damage coming in. I mean, these are just Knights of the Realm and Lewin, which is a lot of units, right? But normally a Shaggoth with its 70 armor, its melee defense, of course, being lowered as well. So it's not good. So I rush over here with Kolek, try and save it. We're getting some Throwing Axe fire in, and we are doing okay damage in return. But that Shaggoth is pretty much offline, right? And that is a huge loss. Those things are expensive. That's like 2,000 gold. So very, very well played there. I love that Alpha Strike. And I'm so used to seeing Lure of Life that I really wasn't expecting that kind of burst damage. It just kind of was out of my purview of what I'm used to. So I'm going to be rushing in the Chosen here. Chosen are going to be piling in, cutting down some of these Noble Knights of Bretonnia, so a little bit of retaliation. Kolek's also a little bit surrounded, so I got a little bit headstrong there, charging in, thinking that Kolek was the impervious Shaggoth god. And nonetheless, though, we have the Hounds, we have Throwing Axes. We are doing a lot of damage in return. Lewin is probably going to be able to escape here. Not the biggest deal in the world, but we do drop a Spirit Leech on this caster. We're also going to start beating down this Damsel with Kolek, and he's doing a great job. So that Damsel is pretty much out of the picture, and he can't really stay and attack Kolek for much longer because the Chosen are just murdering everything in sight. I mean, these great weapons, or not great weapons, but the halberds are doing a pretty good job. So Lewin's going to pile in here, and I actually felt pretty comfortable fighting. I was like, okay, I'll go Fisticuffs. We got Kolek. I know he doesn't have any healing. We get some really good damage. So finally we get some good trades that pull us back towards the middle, because that initial Kolek or Shaggoth loss was devastating. You can see he's going to be running off the battlefield. On the flank, you can see some of these Chaos Warriors are going to be fighting Men-at-Arms, so I'm totally comfortable about this. Even these beat up, 48, 50 Chaos Warriors should be able to beat these Men-at-Arms. But again, I mean, King Lewin can charge in there. He has some Knights as well. Even though these guys are beat up, this is going to do some heavy damage. So he comes in with a really nice charge. Beautiful stuff. I love Bretonnian charges, especially against evil foes. The Questing Knights coming in with their greatswords, they're going to be doing some heavy, just buttering of the bread on these guys. So great charge right there. Those guys are pretty much done for, and those Men-at-Arms have done their job. They just kind of, sponged up that damage. Over here, it's going a little bit better. Kolek has a bunch of Chosen and Elite Infantry doing a pretty good job. I did overchase a little bit with those Chosen over here. I believe there was like some Knights I chased off, and then they wrapped up and around, got away from me, so very, very well played there. But these guys are having to waddle back, and Lord of the Storm is going to be going down from Kolek. The third and final cast is going to be roasting some Peasants and Beast Slayers of Bastion. Now, Spar is still pretty even. Kolek's a little bit beat up. I would say the Bretonnians have a slight advantage in that they have a ton of chaff, and I'm also starting to run out of ammunition on these Marauder Horsemen who have been doing a ton of work. So, I mean, basically I just charge in here, and it actually worked out okay because he got a bit of a weird charge and pulled back there. Lewin charges in as well. The Chosen are going to be holding off the Men-at-Arms, but look at this. I mean, the Men-at-Arms are the true heroes of Bretonnia, right? These peasants. He's actually able to hold back my Chosen. Meanwhile, everything else is just going to Zerg Kolek. Now, I do have some Chosen here to fall back to, but for the most part, this is a lot of mass. I'm going to have some trouble getting away. So I'm like trying to pull back to the Chosen. I'm like, Anakin, I'm so weak. I can't hold any longer. That's basically what Kolek's saying. He's going to be falling back to these halberds, trying to get to the safety of his Chosen here, but I can't really get away. I mean, I feel like Lewin can cycle charge me into oblivion. I did not actually kill his caster, so the Damsel is back here. There's going to be a Curse of the Midnight Wind going down, so, man, it was really a mistake letting that caster live. I mean, I think she kind of squeaked away, and I couldn't really afford to chase her, so there was probably nothing I could do anyway. But Marauder Horsemen right here are going to be countercharged by these Knights, and a little bit delayed on my fullback there, so unfortunately I'm going to be taking some damage, but I do drop a Spirit Leech, if I'm not mistaken, on one of those Knights there, so that's going to be doing some okay damage. And the other Shaggoth is also back, so I'm like, okay, maybe this is where we get back here. We're going to fall back, try and get some Marauders or some Chaff or just whatever I can, and maybe just put up a bit of last stand and get some good fights on Lewin. But unfortunately, he gets the Harmonic Convergence. The Noble King of Bretonnia, the Grail Knight himself, just lays a whooping on Kolek right there. But I do retaliate with the Shaggoth, getting a couple decent attacks in. I also charge in with the Marauder Horseman. Chaos Sorcerer is going to be charging over as well, but really the problem is the Chosen. I mean, yeah, they're getting a lot of kills. They're killing Men-at-Arms, but that's 250 gold right there. In the meantime, like, all my really expensive stuff is just being destroyed, so I couldn't really get back around to kind of stand on top of those Chosen. So the Chosen I'm going to be pulling back from this fight here, kind of a bit of a waste having them fight Peasants, but they're really slow, so that's kind of the thing about, this anti-Bretonnian build, is that you can really be outmaneuvered and, picked apart in many ways. Whereas if you invest in, like, Dragon Ogre Shaggoths and maybe just go, a little bit cheaper on the infantry department, I don't think you need something like mean, in the past, I've had a lot of success in, both really competitive play and casual play using Chosen with the halberds here. But, he kind of exposed a really good weakness to the build in that it can be outmaneuvered, it can be tar pitted, and, depending on the circumstances, it can be really, really rough. So Kullek's going to be trash can right here. He's going to be basically chased off for the most part. And the Bretonnians, obviously I still am not out of this. I still have the 2 Chosen and a Deathcaster, and that is a lot to deal with. But the problem being is that King Lewin does have Terror and Chosen for some reason. Chosen with the Chaos Gods are not immune to Psychology. So they can be Terror routed, and even if I'm able to stand and fight, let's just assume they didn't break. If these guys didn't break, I could probably stand and grind out this fight pretty efficiently. But with King Lewin being able to Terror route me with a full surround, there isn't a whole lot I can do against that. So right here, Big Daddy Lewin's going to be charging in. The Bretonnian peasants, the heroes charging in. Curse of the Midnight Wind going down. Look at these peasants. These guys are so brave, charging against the Chosen with the Chaos Gods, getting their heads chopped off. Knights of Bretonnia, I mean, for once, the Knights of Bretonnia are going to be the shield of the peasants as they do charge in here. King Lewin coming in, and with all those debuffs plus Lewin getting the full surround, it's only going to be a matter of time before a Terror route. I mean, they're steady. These guys are, Chaos Sorcerer shaken, but, I mean, even he can be Terror routed, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, no, that's encouragement. I don't think that's immunity to Psychology, but that's going to be all she wrote. I'm basically going to get Terror routed off here. The Chosen putting up a pretty good fight, but yeah, I mean, beautiful play. Very unorthodox, right? I was not expecting the Corone and Curse of the Midnight Wind to melt me that quick, and it's a really cool thing. I'm really glad we got to fight this battle. We kind of show you guys this tactic, because this is a matchup in the past that was very hard for Bretonnia. I mean, I remember in game 1 and most of the game 2, it's very, very tough for Bretonnia to deal with Chosen with halberds and shaggets and things like that. But I think the Knights of the Realms did really good. I mean, for how cheap they are, they traded so well in an upward manner, just with that, the Heaven's Magic and the armor debuffs and all that. I thought that was really, really cool. But so as far as the build goes, if I were to go back to the drawing board, I'm a little bit rusty on Chaos. This was the first time I played them in a long time. So it was a really good kind of a revelation or moment of awakening where I'm like, okay, I need to kind of step up my game a little bit with Chaos. But I'll show you guys a build. But firstly, I just want to say very well played to Ritus. He got me really good that game, took me out, and had some awesome tactics in doing so. So very well played to him. So now let's go ahead and take a look at some stuff I would probably change in retrospect. So let's go ahead and go to custom battles. We're going to go here. I still think Kullek is the most competitive pick. I mean, he's just such a beast against heavy cap and things like that. I mean, you could go with a dragon or something, or Sigvald if you want to just avoid being sniped, but I really don't do that. So we're going to go with Kullek. On top of that, I mean, honestly, just even Ritus was saying after the game, I think Sword and Board Chaos Warriors might do the trick. These guys have the silver shields. They're going to be able to fight peasants all day with a really high melee defense. And yeah, it's going to be really tough for men-at-arms and foot squires to deal with these guys. Foot squires maybe, but even so, I think those guys are going to be really strong. I really do like the Marauder Horsemen with throwing axes. Those guys give you a lot of battlefield control against heavy cav play. I'd probably go with the Summoners of Rage just to get the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth action going on. Get a couple Poison Warhounds just for battlefield control. Well, maybe we want to cut one of those. But anyways, we do need a caster. So yeah, probably if you're playing in a tournament or competitive, against someone who's really good, you're going to need a Deathcaster. You saw how effective it was. It did a really, really good job. So we're going to get that. And from here, we probably can go 2 of those and 1 Hound. I mean, I guess if they go super heavy with Peasant Archers, we're going to be really grateful for the Hounds. Maybe we get 2 of those. And from here, do we want to get Halberds or anything like that? I mean, Summoners of Rage are pretty beastly for sure. Could even get Demon's Spew, but I feel they're just going to get Cycle Charged into Oblivion, so that's going to be a little bit tricky. Maybe double Dragon Ogres. I mean, you can't quite afford another Dragon Ogre Shaggoth, which would be pretty scary for sure, but I mean, you could even go with a Hell Cannon. I've seen people do all kinds of crazy. There's so many different ways to play. So defending your flanks against heavy cap charges, you're going to need a couple powerhouse units. I don't think Chaos Knights are up to the task of fighting the Bretonnian Knights. It's going to be a little bit of a tough matchup for them. So you could even get another, Dragon Ogre here, right? You just grind out the front line with Chaos Warriors. They're going to be much more durable than the Marauders are. Their armor, they're shielded. You get the throwing axes, you get the Hounds to deal with archers, the Dragon Ogres to fight the Bretonnian Knights with Death and Kullek. I think something like this might be a little bit better. Even still, I'm almost tempted to go super wide with the infantry, but again, you need to fight that cav game. Dragon Ogres smash most Bretonnian Knights pretty hard, especially with Kullek supporting, and they already have low armor, but the higher model count I think is going to be a little bit more beneficial. So just kind of keeping it high and tight, just grinding it out. I think this might be better, but again, I got to experiment a little bit. So very well played to my opponent. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this Chaos vs Bretonnia game, and we'll see you guys next time. Take care.